Welcome back to the Pot of Greed.
Welcome back indeed, guys. Today is a nice, lazy Tuesday.
Yeah, we're a few days early this time.
Yeah, normally we record this on Wednesday, but we're recording it on Tuesday because of plans. But you guys will still see it on Thursday like usual, and we're still going to cover as many stories as we could feasibly find.
And that means we will certainly miss anything posted between now and then.
Yeah, so if KONAMI announces Neo Yu-Gi-Oh! On Wednesday
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Or something, then we're just kind of
we're kind
out
of
of luck.
SOL there. But hey, we can always cover it in the next pod, so we can't really miss it.
The point is, though, we're happy to see you all and hope you're doing well.
But we need you to do something.
Yeah, that's true.
Put your ones up in the chat if you're in the premiere.
And also, subscribe if you aren't already. I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you are subscribed to the APS Amplifier YouTube channel. But
you'd actually be surprised how many videos I personally watch religiously, and I'm not subscribed to any of the channels they're on.
We are very close to 100,000 on this channel, and it would be really
crazy,
really great to get it. So yeah, thumbs up the stream, leave a 1 in chat. Let's get the show rolling with a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! News from the week. Now, there hasn't actually been much, but there kind of has. They announced a new structure deck.
Yeah.
This is OCG structure deck Power of Fellows, which I'm almost certain that's not what it's going to be called here.
No, I wonder what TCG name would be.
This is a structure deck based on Junk Warrior. So you could call it kind of a Yusei structure. It's got cards that support, obviously, retrains Junk Warrior, retrains Kobold Hedgehog. What is the monster that, like, it's not a synchro, but
what, Spore?
No, or actually that might be in there too. I don't know.
I think there was already a retrain of Spore recently.
Yeah, there was a retrain of Spore recently. Speed Warrior.
Speed Warrior.
Yeah, like this guy.
Junk Warrior.
Just a bunch of cool new cards. I saw they got like a spell that obviously just kind of like searches everything that you need, and it's a synchro strategy. I think this is exciting, actually.
I have not seen the cards, so I'm just gonna deliver my blunt opinion immediately anyway. I'm not excited because I tried to play Junk not long ago, and what it just turned into was a Stardust deck.
I mean, I think it's interesting because, well, actually, I'll get to that in a second. The first thing I was going to say is this is nice because it kind of rivals the Crimson King deck. And, you know, we got that a couple years ago with, like, Red Dragon Archfiend. So it kind of feels like, okay, Yusei is getting some love. Because I did think it was random that they were like, here, in 2022 or whatever, Jack Atlas just gets a deck. Or 2023, I think it was. And, like, Yusei doesn't. So it's nice to see, like, Yusei get some love. Like you, I mean, I'm not really like a big Stardust, Junk, like player myself.
Junk. I don't like the Stardust line. I like Stardust Dragon. I literally don't like any of its forms, and maybe it's because of that god-awful theme duel we had to do, but I kind of hate shooting Quasar, whatever, assault form, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, those.
I kind of hate them. The Junk stuff is cool.
So you're probably talking more about, I guess, the Warriors, like the Warrior synchro.
Yeah, the
Junk Warrior, Drill Warrior.
Like Junk and the Warriors, they're cool. It's just,
yeah.
Is this its own strategy, or does this ultimately become another engine to make Quasar?
I hope it's more of the former. Something that I feel has limited the design of Synchrons in general, though, is actually the card Junk Speeder.
Oh, yeah.
Because it effectively is like, it's the number one big bottleneck for all of these synchron like Yusei decks, where like if that gets Veilered or Impermed or whatever, ashed, then yeah, you're done. But also, I never liked that card because while I know like at the time that it came out, it was like Master Rule 4. So the idea was like, you know, to deal with all the link monsters in the zone. So this would help to speed the deck up and stuff. I just found that outside of being a bottleneck, it just meant that if it did resolve, your opponent's just going to play for like 15 minutes. And
it puts up, was it 3 different tuners, right? 3 different Synchrons?
Well, no, it's as many as you.
Yeah, it's as many as you can
make
with different names. Oh, jeez.
So the ideal thing to do is put your Junk Speeder like in the extra monster zone and just get like 4 or 5 Synchron monsters. It's just tough. I think like Synchro as a mechanic really is at its best when it's like simplified, because that's where most people get to use it easily. Do you remember when we did Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck flexing on Master Duel? and like you or me or one of us had to teach somebody how to play like a Yusei deck.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I just remembered. I had to show Rosemi Lovelock how to play Syngrons.
Shout out to Rosemi, by the way, awesome YouTuber. No. But yeah, like it was so basically just to catch people up who don't know. It was this short sponsored Konami series we did a couple years ago, where there were like 3 different episodes with different guests, and we had to like teach them or sort of coach them through a certain strategy. And one of the episodes was with VTubers, and
that was like the anime themed episode.
Yeah, and it was Doppio Drop Scythe,
and
Rosemi Lovelock, and so she had the like sort of junk Stardust Yusei themed deck, and I was just teaching the like hero strategy, which is a little more straightforward, and trying to like explain to somebody how to use not just like synchro summoning, but specifically that brand of the junk kind of synchron
all gas stuff. And because I remember like. A lot of people never even played with synchros before. A lot of people know Yu-Gi-Oh! And have played Yu-Gi-Oh! But they fell off at some point. And so some people don't even know how a synchro works. And so I'm trying to explain how synchros even work with this high-octane deck that just puts out so many bodies.
Yeah, and like some are tuners, some are non-tuners. Levels don't always add up. It's really difficult to show somebody that easily, so I think that they've got their work cut out for them with the structure deck itself. But the cards look cool.
I mean,
just to have a quick.
I just feel like they're going to end up as an engine to make Quasar.
Yeah,
I love this art of Junk Warrior Extreme.
Yeah, then Full Speed Warrior.
He's fine.
Anchor Bolt Hedgehog.
I like Quillbolt.
It's kind of cute. And Synchro Fellows.
Oh, look at them.
So I think that this strategy is neat. I'm wondering when they import it, what will they name it? Because it won't be like Power of Fellows. It's probably going to be like, did Yusei have like a catchphrase that he would call his friends or his deck?
I think he just called them his friends.
Yeah, 5D's fans will know. Or maybe just call it like Structure Deck Rev It Up or something. I don't know.
Structure Deck Rev It Up. That's fine. I mean,
I also noticed that Yusei is not on the cover of this, but that was also the case with the Red Dragon structure deck. And then in the TCG, they added Jack on the cover of the box. So I assume that they would do the same here because that's a really good way of pulling attention, the eyes of the retro anime fan.
An interesting contrast between Jack's character and Yusei's character and the decks they built. You ever notice that Stardust does not actually have to be made in Yusei's deck. He has his Junk and Warrior monsters, which for the most part served as the core of his deck. And then, of course, he would summon Stardust to like finish games off. But he had a deck and a strategy outside of Stardust. But Jack
was far more as just Red Dragon for the most part. I mean, like
he had iconic monsters in his deck that he used all in the effort of making Red Dragon.
Yeah, I feel like I might be forgetting something.
We might be. I think in the later episodes and seasons, Jack's deck became so Red Dragon focused because he's not the main character, so he's had to get Jack to do his thing as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So, but maybe his deck it was more like Yusei's at one point. I just don't remember it.
I mean, also, Yusei is the protagonist, so I guess he has to have you gotta have a few different axes for his deck to operate on. So some games he can win with, Junk. It wasn't Junk Warrior. It was like one of the upgraded
Junk Destroyer?
Yeah, Junk Destroyer was one of my favorites, I remember.
I've always liked the junk monsters, even if they were really, 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 really bad.
Yeah, it reminds me actually that, Konami needs to, I think, get on it with more of these structure decks. Like more of these character-themed structures.
There's no character on the box, but I see what you mean.
They'll add one, I assume. But I think that they need to do like even more of it. Like give us a few more. It could be 5D's characters. It could be like Zexal characters. I don't really care. I just think that
it should be Shark.
Anything but more Shark cards. I feel like there's a new Shark card in every single set.
I literally thought of I was like, okay, who do we definitely not want to see a new set of cards for? Shark, because for the love of God, they will not stop printing those things.
Yeah, there's just been a Shark card for like every product this year. Anyway,
like that, I don't even know how you can call a deck a Shark deck anymore. Just because
it's just
I feel like there's so many directions you can go in a Shark deck now.
Yeah, I think that they need to be doing more structures. I like the character themed ones. I've gone on record in saying that I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity to not do some of the like the Duelists of Light, that Duelist pack thing where they put them all into Maze of the Master.
Oh yeah,
I thought that would have been a great opportunity to just have like, Blue Maiden and Kaiba, obviously, and then whoever used the Tachyon stuff. I don't remember what that character's name was, but like have them be like structure decks instead. Could have been a neat thing. And you just have and Odeon, of course, Odeon, the man with the mark.
Yeah, but we know Konami doesn't like doing structured decks, and
I just don't know why. Like, unironically, why do you think they don't? Like,
I mean, we've talked about it before. I think it's just a matter of sales and like and profit margins. I think structured decks, they sell well in like for like pre-orders, and then they probably just halt because anybody who wants the cards at late after like their initial run just buy the singles, and the cards just sit on Walmart shelves for.
See, I always thought the same could have been said of normal sets. But I don't know. I just think that like thematically, it's cooler to see a structure deck on a shelf because like it's like character, iconic monster in your face.
Well, they'll do the iconic monster. You're not getting characters anymore. I don't know if they are just purposely trying to distance themselves from the Yu-Gi-Oh anime series with this kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing that they're doing.
I have felt. Sorry, go ahead.
It shouldn't be a bad idea to have the protagonist of said series on the product, since you're clearly trying to pull on that nostalgia in the first place.
Yeah, I've always felt that they kind of seem like they're trying to, in some ways, decouple themselves from the anime and the anime characters a little bit. Like, they do retrains of monsters that they use. Like, Yuma just got this new ZW Utopia Automot, whatever it is, and, this last set. And, like, they'll do, like, Raid Raptors and all these things. But they seem a little bit less... like they're in less of a hurry to put the characters on the products. Like I always thought it'd be cool to just keep throwing characters on the sets.
I thought maybe it was a fear of like maybe the side characters who probably wouldn't garner as much attention. But I mean, Yusei is literally the guy of 5D. So I would have thought if anybody, but then again, they didn't put Kaiba on the Blue Eyes deck. So
True.
If Kaiba can't make a product, I guess nobody can.
Anyway, we got a few new cards from Doom of Dimensions. As always, I'm not really too focused on the effects of these cards, but just what they represent.
There's the next here, the Doom scroll.
Speaking of Doom, the next core set is going to have the next like lore theme, which is called the Doom Z's.
Another reason the set's called Doom of Dimensions.
Yeah, so
I have seen these guys.
Yeah, so you've seen these. Like the Doom Z monsters basically use equip cards and Xyz monsters. And I thought that was kind of a cool concept.
I do think it's interesting that
these Xyz look so cool.
For me, they're actually a little too detailed for the card size. I find like that is some really detailed work on those small squares that we call cards. They do look cool. It's just wow.
They'll look great on a mat, but I think in that small frame, bigger. Yeah, that small frame is.
But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I did find it interesting that we're already getting what seems to be the like big bad for Art Magia like in its second set.
I kind of read these as more like this is going to be either like temporary villain, like temporary antagonist, but will likely, as the story progresses, either become their allies or kind of function as more of like a precursor to the actual bad guys.
For me, I just looked at something. I think it was one of the spells. It had like destined rival energy, like
Doomsday Raider.
Yeah, this felt very climactic in the artwork.
Yeah, they're clashing.
But I mean, yeah, maybe this is just like a smaller part of a larger story. Don't ask me what the story is. I have done literally zero research.
Yeah, Medius
on this lore theme.
I don't know too much about what's going on. I just know it's a magical academy, and he seems to be the protagonist.
And then these guys look like they're invaders from
somewhere.
Space?
Sign me up for an interesting archetype. That's for sure. I think that using equips and Xyz is something that has not been done. So, color me interested. I will look into them. I think
It
I wanted to
screams
build
Armored Exes to me. I hear quips and Exes.
That's true. That is so true. That's so true. And they did kind of do that already. But it seems like it's vaguely different. Like it's kind of more about destroying themselves and stuff. So there could be something there. In other news, Master Duel got the release of Malice last week, and it's obviously very strong. A lot of people really like it. Of course. People are complaining, as they typically do, about not just the deck strength, but actually the fact that it's had more like UR creep. A lot of UR cards needed to build the deck, and it's here.
Hey, URs are how Konami gets y'all to spend y'all money. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. I mean, I wonder if you can still do the whole thing where you just make a fresh account and you have enough initial gems to pull and build virtually any deck still.
You still can, and also, I mean, like, they are doing like this campaign where you get a free pack every day. They're celebrating like 10 billion packs opened.
Wait, is it the master packs or a pack?
It's a pack of the new thing. That
okay.
That has them in it.
Get a free master pack. It's like, oh, yay.
Yeah, they like to just hand you a master pack. It's a fucking useless thing. But no, this is the pack that has Malice, so that's cool. I saw another small little thing too about Master Duel, which is that they are preparing they've announced they're preparing like a version update at the end of the month, I think July 30th. And it actually significantly increased the necessary specs, like the minimum specs that your computer needs to run the game. So they kind of, they'll warn you ahead of time, like, yeah, this is what you're going to need. It went from, I think, a certain amount of, like 64 gigs of storage minimum to now 128. And they recommend a RTX or whatever, like 3060 minimum.
A 3060 minimum?
Which I'm really confused about this, and there's a lot of
that's a minimum and not a recommended?
I think it's a recommended.
Okay.
Maybe not a minimum, it's like a recommended. But
still.
Yeah, I found that interesting because I was like,
what are they gonna do?
What kind of update? Because the 128 gigabytes of storage is double what it used to be, which was 64. So people are wondering, like, is there gonna be like 3D models, or like is there gonna be like a whole new mode that's like, maybe that VR thing's gonna be in there.
First person shooter.
What?
I mean, come on. With that big of a jump in technical specs, you can add a whole another game to Master Duel.
That's true. I mean, like, maybe it's I thought it could be the VR thing, the little VR demo that they had. Like, maybe
they expanded it.
Well, I think that they're maybe putting it into Master Duel. Like, you get to try it out, like it's a little experience.
But you can't even play Master Duel in VR, right?
You can't. But maybe you can. Like, maybe if you have a Quest or...
I have a Quest.
Actually, wait, is it available? I guess it's not,
I don't think so. I mean, of course, you can sideload any, like, APK and then have that kind of, like, play onto your headset. But it wouldn't be like a VR game. It would be a non-VR game you are playing in VR. If that
you know what?
Yeah,
sense. No, you're right. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of fun to speculate what that might mean. I just think that it sounds like pretty high recommended specs, and it makes you wonder, like, how are the phones going to handle it then?
That's a great question. I mean, we've had this come up. You guys know I play a lot of gacha games, Hoyoverse, Kuro games, all this stuff. And, a lot of those games have been getting bigger and bigger with every update. They ask for more and more space on your phone. They're more demanding than they've ever been. On the bright side, phones keep getting bigger and stronger with every year, or really every 2 years now. But I don't know what to do with Master Duel, though, because
I remember
it doesn't make
there was
sense.
A thing that they showed back at the Tokyo Dome thing where they were like working on an AI thing, not like LLM AI, but just more like it could learn decks and deck building and like combos, and so basically you could like duel the AI. But it would be using data from like the most popular and successful decks on Ranked Ladder. And
Shadowverse, the new Shadowverse game, has kind of this AI tips feature to it, where it does try to suggest plays for you in this kind of dynamic game playing environment.
That could be really cool. I know, like, some people probably don't like the sound of that. Like, I don't want the AI to help me. Well, great, you don't have to use it, I would assume. But I think it's actually really cool and could help a lot with Yu-Gi-Oh's accessibility issues if there was kind of just this AI that like, if you enable it, can offer you advice in the middle of the game. Like maybe you should activate this now.
I mean, I don't think that would be so bad, or even some people might say it's against the spirit of Yu-Gi-Oh, but
I'd say Loki, didn't Yugi do that shit?
Yeah, didn't Yuma like?
Yeah, I mean,
Playmaker literally had an AI.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it'd be neat. I know some people, they take some issue with like any aids to gameplay. I remember people got mad about like the imperm column glowing or whatever in Master Duel. Like people didn't like that. I mean, there's some people who don't even like that there's a log.
Because at the end of the day, people want to be as competitive as possible, and they feel like any like crutches or leg ups for people who couldn't do these things before, now they're pushing forward competitive wise into territory that some people probably wouldn't like. Let's say like I'm the type of player, I've never missed an imperm column a day in my life. I'm like, well, okay, y'all are highlighting a thing that is, at least in my opinion, doesn't need to be highlighted. You're supposed to remember where it is. And now all of a sudden I got these people who are playing around the imperm column, but like I know they're not built like that. They normally would not remember that this column is a danger zone, and that was a part of my game plan to beat noobs. And just to be clear, guys, I always play into the imperm column.
Yeah, Alec is representing the point of view of a person who might feel that way.
Not that good at
I realized, no, dude, I've realized with this podcast, we have to make it very clear when we are representing a point of view that is not our own, but is rather just a point of view. Some people don't like the imperm column. Some people don't like the Nibiru counter. There are people who they don't really want those aids and crutches. And I see where they're coming from. I think that I rationalized it like this. Yu-Gi-Oh! So what I heard was like, somebody was like, you shouldn't be able to like see the log because in the TCG you can't note take and you're just kind of responsible for keeping up with the game state. In Master Duel, obviously certain things won't even be allowed. Like it will not allow you to have an illegal game state because it's just a simulator. But I basically rationalized it as Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel actually is not the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG.
It's a different Yu-Gi-Oh!
You are playing like a slightly different Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it is assumed that there's always a log. It is assumed that the Nibiru counter is being given to your opponent. It is assumed that imperm columns will glow for the turn that they're active. And you can sort of like choose to like or dislike that, but like that is the Yu-Gi-Oh! That everybody's operating on. So, get with it or don't. But
like I had like a kind of a thought that isn't exactly equivalent now that I think about it, but I'll say it anyway. Was that how in chess, everyone's favorite example of a game that's extremely strategic and competitive. You're not allowed to make a move that puts your own like king in check. Mm-hmm. And like it's an accepted thing that you can't do. If we were like taking that older Yu-Gi-Oh! Mentality and putting it onto chess, if my opponent puts himself in check, that should just be on him. And then on the next turn I checkmate and win. It's like, whoa, wait.
Yeah.
No, in the spirit of chess, you cannot put yourself in check. You cannot even if it's going to put your opponent in check, you cannot put yourself in check. And so I think to some degree, I look at the imperm column in the same way. The problem is the imperm column doesn't kill you, doesn't win the game. You don't lose immediately for playing into it. But it is one of those intangible things that makes it really much harder. I'm not going to say really hard. It makes it much harder to just play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You already have a million other interactions.
It's one additional mental stack thing
that you can't see.
In a game where there's already like so many of them. I have two thoughts on that actually. So I don't mind the crutches and Master Duel ads. I think that they're generally good. I like some of the...
Ball beats them anyway. That's why you don't care.
Well, some of the quality of life things, like the check marks when effects have been used and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that's all really good. The glow, like, it highlights the text of the relevant effects. With the imperm column thing, Master Duel does not actually stop you from playing the card there.
It just highlights.
It just has a visual thing that lets you know. Because like I've had people still just play cards right there.
Oh, like at that point, it's really just
sometimes people are just in a hurry and they do whatever. But an interesting opposite example of that, where Master Duel can actually be more unforgiving than the TCG misclicks, but also there's this one ruling where like in the TCG, if you like activate an effect that targets things and then turns out that your opponent's cards can't be targeted and you didn't know that, you're allowed to take it back. But in Master Duel, once you like, if it's, so here's my example. Say I'm playing Voiceless Voice, and I have that continuous spell up that says my light monsters cannot be targeted by my opponent's card effects, which is, it's oftentimes going to be up. And they have SP Little Knight, and we have this really complicated, layered, high-stress game state where they've got stuff face up, I've got stuff face up. It's like the timer's ticking, things are getting crazy. And they have a little lapse in judgment, and they think, okay, I'm going to use their eyes and my opponent, I'm going to use my SP Little Knight to banish itself, and they're low, right? The Voiceless Voice monster or something. And they activate it. Master Duel will let them activate SP Little Knight, and then they will just find out that they have to target their own thing because they can't legally target mine, but they can still legally activate the effect. Mm-hmm. And so, as a result, they will just have to resolve SP Little Knight, and then usually at that point that they just quit because it's like, oh well, I just completely fucked up. But like in the TCG, if you do that and your opponent's like, okay, like you can't target any of my monsters, you're allowed to just take it back, which a lot of my wins on Master Duel are due to people forgetting stuff like that. And I actually sometimes like center my game plan a little bit around that. And so for me, I actually find like Master Duel is preferable because, it will not let you do that stuff. Whereas in the TCG, there's a certain amount of leeway that's offered. So
how would you feel if Master Duel let you take those kinds of plays back?
I guess I have to live with it. But, I mean, I don't know, but I
supposed to be like, no, I get angry, I get mad at.
Well, KONAMI, the reason that I like Master Duel doing that is because it is not doing anything illegal there. You can activate that card. There might be a time in Yu-Gi-Oh where you choose to use SP Little Knight and banish itself and one of your own monsters. It's a play that's totally designed into the card.
Right.
You might be playing against, like, let's say a chain burn deck where like they're using those cards like Secret Barrel or whatever that like burn you for every card in your field. There have been times where like, I might use an SP Little Knight to get more cards off my field just for that to, you know what I mean?
Right.
People will also do that with like Evenly Matched. If I activate Evenly Matched and they have SP Little Knight, it's in their best interest to use Little Knight's effect to banish itself and one of their monsters because it's 2 less things they'll lose to evenly and get back at the end of the turn. So like it's all still legal, and that's why I like that Master Duel allows it. And so it's like a little bit of a tangent, but
no.
I'm one of those like, just leave all like legal options open sort of person. Like that's kind of how I tend to view Yu-Gi-Oh. So anyway, though, we'll see what the Master Duel update is and how that goes. But I think for now, that's all the Yu-Gi-Oh news.
First person shooter.
My money is on like maybe it's just the AI thing. Or it could be the VR demo, but you're right. Like, if you can't play Master Duel on a Quest, I'm just not sure what the point would be.
Could be a third-person shooter. That way you can see Yusei from behind.
Okay, I've got another card game story.
What you got?
So, Pokemon fan meets Pope Leo. And gets him to sign a Pop Leo Pokemon card.
Pop Leo.
And it looks like the Pontiff got the joke. So, basically, Reddit user Reptile Cake, a Pokemon fan from Copenhagen, Denmark, has done just that. He got his trading card signed by the Holy Pontiff in the process. He took 2 copies of a Pop Leo card to meet Pope Leo XIV, and that took place last Saturday, July 5th at the Vatican. 1 copy of the card, a holographic version, he got blessed by the head of Catholicism. The other copy, crazy. Meanwhile, he asked the Pope to sign with a half-working Bic Biro, the only pen that Reptile Cake belatedly realized he had with him. So I guess he just had like a pen, and that's all it...
Why would that Pope wreck that card with that pen? Dug all into it.
He says, I introduced it as a Pop Leo because it sounds like Pope Leo, he wrote on a Reddit earlier this week. He laughed, talking about the Pope, laughed. Mm-hmm. He laughed probably as a courtesy, but he did know about Pokemon cards. He even showed it around to the guards around him. Then I asked him to sign a copy for me, and he was happy to oblige. So, and there's also some pictures. I guess you can
pulled up. Open up.
Yeah, you can see where he has the very not good working
pen. Woo, on that Pop Leo card. Dig into that card to get it to work.
God, that makes me so stressed out to see.
Hey, but I mean, as long as Pope Leo doesn't sign more Pope Leo cards, That's the best signature that you're ever gonna see, right?
Yeah, I actually think that, so, in this article they're talking about it, I actually think that might actually be a pretty valuable card. Like, not valuable objectively to everybody, but I think that just like a Poplio signed by Pope Leo, it's like a fun gimmick.
Yeah, but he needs to not sign anymore. He's got to stop doing like this. Has to be the one.
And that there's someone who's going to show up like tomorrow trying to get like, here, I brought 10 Poplios, sign them all so I can go scalp on eBay.
Because I mean, even the roughness of that signature, at least in my eyes, as like a collector, that actually makes it more valuable to me.
Yeah, it proves a little bit of the like,
it's the
candidness of the situation.
It's such a more like authentic signature because it's a little rough. The pen wasn't working well, and since they have a picture of the Pope actually doing the signing, just makes it very authentic. It would be something I wouldn't mind having in my collection. I probably would not pay whatever they think it's worth, but
it's just a funny joke that His Holiness indulged in with me. Reptile Cake concluded. That's worth more than any monetary value can satisfy. I'm never intending.
His Holiness.
I mean, I guess that's how people refer to the Pope. I don't.
I know.
I mean, I'm never intending to get rid of the card in any way. It's a personal artifact that I will cherish for eternity. So,
this Pokemon snorts body fluids from its nose, blowing balloons to smash into its foes. That's its Pokedex description.
It's famous for being a hard worker.
That's right.
Bad. Yeah, I thought that was like a fun little like. Since I don't think we have a Pokemon theft story this week. I felt like this was like
not find one.
The very opposite of theft is like getting your card blessed by the Pope.
I will say, what does like a blessed card look like?
That's what I was wondering, because he said he had him bless the foil one, and he just signed the common one.
Is the card like you just dunk it in some holy water? I don't actually know, guys. We're not that religious, so we don't know how things work. Just like dunk it in some holy water and give it some water damage.
But I do, or maybe it's just like a thing where he just like kind of gives it a little
Salt Bay. Just
but there's not salt. Like it's just like a little razzle dazzle. Like
some dazzle.
Yeah, and now it's like blessed.
What are you talking about? Like some magic?
He prays. He might be.
Okay, but how do you know he like actually? Oh, is this the belief thing again? Okay, yeah. This is cool.
No, I mean I just say that because like. I don't know what else you would like. What else? How else do you bless a card?
I'm not great with my knowledge of Catholicism. Do you think they put like the ash on the card?
I don't know. Is this the new Pope who's from America?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, they say that.
I think there's only one Pope, right?
Yeah. Pope Leo XIV, the real name Robert Francis Prevost, is the first head of the Catholic Church to have been born in the United States.
I heard he was from the Bronx,
and he became Pope in May 2025.
That's probably not true, but
I wonder like. What he said, like this guy says that like the Pope laughed and kind of indulged it, but it's like they make it almost sound like he can't speak, like he doesn't like maybe that's inappropriate. I'm sorry if I'm being offensive, by the way. Like I don't mean that in like a judgy offensive way.
Speak just fine. He's been seen speaking a lot actually.
Well, no, I just meant like because in this article it's like like I introduced it and he laughed and okay, well, never mind. Okay, he must have said something because he did know about Pokemon cards. So I guess he's aware enough of that.
I mean, he's not like he's not 110 where it's like, I missed this whole Pokemon thing. I didn't know what happened.
Yeah, I just thought like it's almost, I guess at my first pass of this article and my little, like you read something, you have a vision in your head of how it plays out. It was just like, he just like saw the Pokemon card, smiled and like signed it. And then just like
solemn, didn't like holy figure.
And I just didn't say anything else, but. That would be interesting. Maybe the blessed card like shows up in your opening hand more.
Who knows?
Sign my Max C.
Would you play with a blessed card?
Would you play with a blessed card?
Because I would, but the issue I'd have with doing that is other people wanting to touch my cards.
That's true.
If someone else touches my blessed card, we're fighting. Because then they're going to taint my blessing.
Yeah. Okay.
Like my opponent can't read my blessed card. They can't breathe on it.
Any other card game news?
Let's see. What else is on here?
I think I have one more.
I'm searching.
Well, actually, here's a quick Pokemon thing.
Oh, what you got?
So there's this like thing that Razer teased. Are you ready for a new journey?
Incredibly expensive Pokemon themed Razer accessories. Here we go.
It's a 4-second little promo. and it just has the Razer icon and Pokemon icon, and that's it.
Oh.
So, yeah, so there's really not much, but they say that on July 17th at 8 a.m. Pacific time, they are going to be announcing something.
They're going to drop the most expensive Razer peripherals that you've ever seen.
I mean, the official Pokemon account did reply with like eyes emoji, and so there's a little thing. I'm guessing it's just going to be like a fucking keyboard or something.
Keyboard mouse combo.
Maybe it's like a laptop with like a yellow laptop or something.
I've bought 2 Razer laptops, and I can tell you guys, a Pokemon themed one, that's gonna run you out of house and home. That's not.
Yeah,
gonna
it'll be very
cheap
expensive.
Oh, speaking of laptops, my Yu-Gi-Oh keycaps never came in.
Oh, you got the Yu-Gi-Oh keycaps?
Yeah.
You did
I
say
just
you got the
remember
Yu-Gi-Oh
that I did
keycaps.
that. I have heard nothing back from the people who had the ordering.
I forget the name of that company, but I know which one you're talking about because I see the ads for those keycaps all the time.
Oh, you still see them? I'm happy you see them. They haven't spoken to me.
You should probably follow up with them on that.
Yeah, they
'cause
took my
just took your
money.
Those keycaps. By the way, what we're talking about, guys, is there are these officially licensed Yu-Gi-Oh keycaps, and they're like, I guess, really custom made or whatever. Where like it's kind of got like a little small model of the monster, like they have Blue Eyes, Dark Magician Girl, a few
Mine
others.
was Red Eyes.
In the inside of the keycap, and it's kind of like clear and
High
see through and high ground.
I think that was High Ground.
It's high. Okay, I have one of the high ground keyboards.
Oh, maybe it's not High Ground.
I don't think it's High Ground. High Ground did the keyboards, but the keycaps are like a different company. I think if you order them, they're supposed to be like it takes a little while for them to
Clearly,
get
because
made.
I feel like
but
I did that half a year ago.
yeah, okay.
Why are they listed on Big Bad Toy Store? Who is selling these things?
It's so complicated to get stuff sometimes. That's actually like, okay, this is a short tangent, but I think a lot of people listening will be able to relate. I actually do not like the culture of like, I don't know if it's like, you call it like drop culture or what, but like where you have to order things and just like pre-ordering stuff in a drop.
Then you wait a year.
Yeah, and it's like waiting a year and just not knowing like when you're going to get it. Is it in production? I love my first 4 figures to death. I truly do. But that's another one of my like small gripes with them too, is they make great Yu-Gi-Oh figures. You guys have seen some of the ones that I own, but and they're expensive, so you're paying.
Facts.
But like you don't get them for like a year sometimes.
Eminent Crafts.
Found
it.
So they do still exist. They haven't disappeared off the face of the earth.
They do exist, but their ESO is terrible.
Taking your money into
Took my money and ran.
into the night. Yeah, but like I don't like ordering stuff and then just like waiting a year and like until you get it.
But I mean, ever since the plague that shall not be named,
the Crush Guard virus.
it feels like supply chains have been in complete disarray. It feels like everything just has to be like a limited, like drop style situation where, or in this case, it has to be print to order, where they have to be sure how many orders they get before they even start doing this.
It seems like that's what it is they really, really don't want to take any risks on people not buying stuff. And I think that the print to order system has its benefits, I guess, for a company, like from the company perspective, because they will just sell exactly how many they sell and like there will be no leftovers. But I think that it's still, for the consumer, you have to wait a long time. And then it's made worse when you have to wait in like a drop queue type of thing and stuff like sells out fast.
Estimated release, September 2025. So I still have a little bit of time.
Okay, so you got a couple months.
Yep.
Okay. Well, hopefully you get your stuff soon.
I forgot why I even got on that. It just popped in my head. I remembered, hey, I paid for a thing. I don't have it.
I really contemplated getting those keycaps. They do look nice. I think we talked about some of them on the pod once.
We probably did. I mean, we've somehow kept up with this pod pretty much every week since we started. So we've likely talked about every like
I know.
thing
That's actually so cool though that like I've gotten to the point now where I will remember things because we talked about it here. Like stuff that I probably would otherwise just like I just forgot about this shit. Like I was like, oh, like we talked about this. I think
it's on record. All of these conversations are on YouTube.
The AI is training on them.
Yeah, we're training AI.
Soon we'll be replaced.
Yep. And I'm honestly looking forward to it. The day that an AI me can do me better than I can do me, but then I can just do the AI instead, and so then I could be the AI and AI could be me.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, here's another little quick Magic the Gathering story. This one's this is honestly like not a new topic at all, Magic the Gathering is Fortnite now, for better and worse.
Okay, so this is another person weighing in on collab fever that's been going on with Universes Beyond and Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I should remind you guys, please like the video if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Like if you maybe just joined the premiere, or like you're watching or something, a thumbs up helps a lot because it spreads the word. All right, let's talk about Magic the Gathering. Crossover IPs are quickly becoming Magic's focus, even in competitive play. So this one comes to us from, I think it's like GameSpot or something. Yeah, it's from GameSpot. They say, when Wizards of the Coast introduced the concept of Universes Beyond to Magic in 2021. Wow, they only introduced that in 2021? I felt like Universes Beyond had been like around longer. No,
because 2021, that was Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings was like 2022.
Was it 2022? I get those years mixed
up. Anyway, there's a fair amount of skepticism and worry. Universes Beyond is the moniker used to label cards and sets printed for Magic the Gathering that exist outside the canonical story of the planes and characters of Magic. Though Universes Beyond could be seen as a sort of creativity-fostering catch-all, more often than not it simply allows Magic the Gathering to explore different IPs that exist outside of its universe while adapting those characters and concepts into mechanics and gameplay that fit right into the 30-year-old trading card game. Essentially, it's Magic's way to cross over with beloved franchises and blah, 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 blah. Well, anyway, here's the problem. When this experiment into licensed IP was announced, Magic's head designer Mark Rosewater said that Universes Beyond would only exist in Eternal formats and stay out of Magic's more competitive Standard format. This decision would allow players to choose to engage with outside IP like The Walking Dead, Street Fighter, Fallout, or Assassin's Creed in casual or less sanctioned formats of play, or ignore it entirely if they wished. Fast forward to 2025, however, and Universes Beyond has evolved into a different beast. Not only does it make up half of Magic the Gathering's tentpole set releases for the year, which I didn't know that, but I guess it kind of makes sense. Like, there's been so many. But with the release of Final Fantasy in June, Universes Beyond is now legal. Universes Beyond is now legal in all competitive formats of the game, with Standard the last to include it. And herein lies the problem. So this person kind of goes on in this article to talk about how now you are forced to learn about these Universes Beyond cards, sometimes get the cards because they're strong or just meta relevant in some way. And he also gets into the whole like the purity argument. People obviously feel like, Magic has kind of been,
I want to keep my Magic pure and multicolored.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting that.
You know what I was going for, but it doesn't work with a deck that mentality. Has all the colors.
Well, either way, yeah. So now that these Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond cards are in Standard format, something that I have recently sort of learned what that means, it's caused a lot of just disarray within the community. We've talked about this pretty much every week for the last few months, it feels like, so I'm not going to harp too much more on it.
We're going to harp horror.
But I did think that it was just interesting that somebody else had made an article about it, and they kind of go on to talk about how they were using like a Sephiroth deck in Final Fantasy VII on Magic the Gathering Arena, and it was pretty strong, and they were like, making their way through the ranks, but they wondered if I wasn't a big Final Fantasy VII fan, would I have even bothered with this deck? How would like a non-fan feel about this deck? And so
that's an interesting point. I mean, because the vast majority of Magic players, they play Magic because they love Magic. Now they have other interests outside of Magic, I'd assume, which, it's nice when the Universes Beyond sets align with that for them. But if you are not at all familiar with like Final Fantasy, and there are plenty of people who aren't, and you're playing Magic, and now like your Standard format, which has only recently gotten off the ground again, is infested with all these Final Fantasy themed cards, and it's like, bro, I kind of just came here to play some Magic. I mean, yes, we're playing the game, but it
brings me back to that article that we were discussing a week or two ago about like the Magic the Gathering movie. Mm-hmm. And they have the writers for it or whatever. And I had mentioned when we talked about it that I wonder how many people would be interested in going to see a Magic the Gathering movie. I'm not saying that it's like zero people.
None of us. We don't wanna.
Yeah, I mean, I think there will be people who would be interested in it, but it does feel like Magic themselves, or Wizards or Hasbro, or whatever you want to call it, they seem like they want Magic's identity to be almost based in these Universes Beyond things and these secret layers. And so
that's what pays.
Yeah, and that's what pays. Like, they're selling well. It's getting people in. It's really putting a stress test on like, do you want Magic the game to be very popular and doing well, or would you rather, I guess, sacrifice some of that in favor of, keeping it Magic? Because what I always find myself wondering is like, if a person buys, the Final Fantasy set, the Marvel set, those feel so different than Magic the Gathering, normal like sort of mythos and stuff, that I just wonder, okay, is that player going to actually buy the next Magic set anyway? Or are they just going to like play their Sephiroth deck into infinity?
I think...
Or do they even care either way?
I think yes and no. I think if it was talking about Commander, then yes, they'll probably build their Final Fantasy themed deck, and then that will be their deck forever.
Yeah.
But if they're playing in the standard format, because these cards will stay within the format until they rotate out, as long as the cards are good, they'll probably just keep using them. Like, there's 2 cards I can think of off the top of my head that are really good in standard, and I only know this because of how expensive they are, but like Lightning Army of One and then like Sephiroth Fabled Soldier. 2 cards that are quite expensive, even in their lowest rarities. And I feel like if I had a set of 4 of those cards and was playing standard with decks themed around them, as long as they don't get power crept, and given their prices, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Guess I just keep playing standard. Even when the next set comes out, I'll add cards around it from a new set. But if I have a deck that runs Sephiroth, I'm doing that. Yeah,
for a lot of people, that's like all they need is just like they get to play their favorite protagonist or their favorite villain or whatever from a given IP, and they continue to be Magic players, but they might not necessarily indulge in the next few sets.
See,
and
Sephiroth Fabled Soldier, basically $50.
Yeah,
that's just he's a mythic rare, non-foiling, non-showcase, $50. Why? Because he's good.
So this is just something that I think it's kind of an internal conversation. I know we've kind of talked it through the mud at this point, so I'm sure the conversation will arise again as soon as this, like, Spider-Man, Marvel, whatever the next set is. They're also doing, like, Avatar, The Last Airbender.
They're never going to stop. They're just going to keep going crazy with it.
Yeah, so I know we've kind of talked into the ground, but I just thought that was an interesting article and one that I wanted to share. I think that concludes our card game news, though.
Yay.
So what else we have then?
Let's see. I had like a gaming thing in here. Oh, here we go. So Larian's head of publishing says that not all games need to be free. They just need to be good. In case you didn't know, Larian is they're the publishing team behind Baldur's Gate. That's it, Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
So...
Oh, I see this article. So
Larian's head of publishing has commented on the volatility of the gaming industry, arguing that games do not need to have broad appeal to succeed. He also pushes back against the belief that all games need to be free to play and that gamers are willing to put down money for a game as long as it's good. There's a lot of people who don't agree with that statement.
Okay, that's a loaded one. I was glimpsing the article as well. I know this comes after Xbox rolled out another wave of layoffs, resulting in many games being canceled. I have a story about that coming right after this, in fact, so it'll be highly relevant. But I'm reading his quote here. Mm-hmm. I think one of the fundamental misunderstandings is that idea that players want free games. They want good games. They can be free to play, they can be paid, but they need to be good.
Facts.
He says, you can't avoid that this is a hit-based industry. The problem is there isn't enough mind space for the amount of games that would ideally be hits. Therefore, the majority can't be hits, even if they're good. This is interesting.
That is it. The idea that more games could be hits, but we don't actually have enough mind share to make them all hits is interesting.
I'm kind of interested in this, like... I think from what I'm understanding of his quote, and I get it, it's just like one quote out of context, so broadly speaking, I think I agree with the idea that, like, it's not a matter of being free to play, it's a matter of being good. We know that there's been an overabundance of, like, free to play kind of just live service games because for a lot of companies, they feel like by making a game free to play, you are reducing the barrier to entry for people. So you don't have to convince somebody to spend $60, $70, $80 on your game. They can download it for free, and then you can make the money off of them in the back end through microtransactions,
which
stuff.
are not micro anymore.
DLC, battle passes, whatever.
They should just be considered transactions.
Yeah. I think that I agree with them, though. Like, I think people want good games. It's not so much that they just want free games. Like, the experience that I've noticed is that most people will find a few free-to-play games and enjoy them. For me, that's like Master Duel. For somebody, that might be like a Marvel Rivals or some equivalent.
Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite type of game.
I've recently played Mecha Break. Maybe you want to play Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail. Maybe Wuthering Waves is more your flavor. Have you tried like Honkai Star Rail or Honkai Impact Third? I don't know. Oh, there's Punishing Gray Raven. There's so many card game based ones. And
so it's almost like, so you're basically making that point though, right? Of like, there are so many, it's hard to identify like spinning. What's good and what's bad and have the time and like bandwidth to explore each one, because there are so many that, like he says, like they can be a hit, but they're still it's just so much that it's hard for it to necessarily succeed. Like, we have a running joke between like me and you and like Alex where like, oh, your favorite live service game died and it's your fault. It's your fault, air quotes.
That actually was from an article that we read on this pod.
It might be. You know, and I'm using the air quotes because it's like so like if you're an existing Fortnite player, then Mecha Break comes out. Or the example we always use is like that Gundam game that came out.
Oh, poor Gundam Evolve.
Yeah, and like if not enough people play it, then it dies, gets canceled. That's your Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. There's plenty of examples. Yeah. And it's your fault, you the player. I'm using air quotes, remember, because you did not divert enough of your time from the existing free-to-play game you're doing. You wouldn't get your ass off Master Duel and play Cross Duel. You wouldn't get your ass off Fortnite and Marvel Rivals and go play Gundam Evolve. You wouldn't get off whatever and play whatever other thing. So therefore, it died because not enough people were playing it, and they need people to be playing it.
You guys killed Concord.
Yeah, and it's all the player's fault, right?
Yeah. But that's what the live service model does. It kind of puts, I mean, the onus is always on us as gamers, because like we can either buy or not buy a game, and by not buying a game, we are helping to kill it. Except, typically when you pay for a game, it's not a live service game where the people who bought it, the game won't disappear because not a lot of other people aren't playing it.
Yeah.
There have been exceptions to that, but for the most part, that kind of remains true. I can't even say still. So many games are server-based now, even if you paid full price for the game, that they can just kind of rip that game out from underneath you. That's a whole other conversation.
I do think, too, that there's something to be said about games trying to be broadly appealing. I think he goes into this a little bit. He says, you know, if you have an audience and you hyper-focus on your niche, you don't need to be traditionally high-scoring to succeed. Broad doesn't necessarily mean successful. Farming Simulator will outlive us all. Which is true. I think the biggest issue that probably a game like Concord is going to run into is that it will try to take a genre, a gameplay style, you know, it's team shooter, right? That is oversaturated, and I don't want to say perfected, like there can always be better, but like, let's face it, most people are happy with like the existing offerings that the market has, and they're just not in a hurry to drop Marvel Rivals to play other game that's just identical with less flair or whatever. And meanwhile, you know, if you have something that's very niche and widely, and like not widely appreciated, but like deeply appreciated by the people who like it, I think that those people will oftentimes be enough to sustain your game, because it's like you can survive there, or you can try to fight with the sharks in the water of Fortnite and like Marvel Rivals and those games.
I mean, that's exactly the kind of stance I'd expect from the people who made the game where you could fuck a bear. Right?
Yeah, and Baldur's Gate. Yeah. Was that like a meme? I don't know anything about it.
I didn't play Baldur's Gate, but everyone keeps telling me that there's some weird sex going on in that game. And so that's exactly kind of like, it's the kind of thing I'd expect. But you could look at games like Stellar Blade, where it's not a broadly appealing game by any sense. It just leans heavily into its niche. It's like, hey, what are we? We're kind of like Nier Automata, but again, all right, So we're going all the way with that? Yeah, scantily clad characters that look like sexy while they're killing monstrosities. It works. And they didn't have to turn it into a live service hero shooter to make it popular.
Well, speaking of games that end, that's actually a great segue into a pretty big story from the last week or so. Stop killing games. This is actually a consumer movement that has been happening. It's sort of a large-scale petition of sorts.
I haven't heard about this petition. Not that large scale, then.
Yeah, I guess not. It's been picking up some traction. I've seen it in a few different circles. So I went to their website, and basically it's an EU petition.
Okay, it's always in the EU.
Well, if it's an EU thing, that probably means it's got more chances of actually
if it's in the EU, it's got legs.
Amounting to something, yeah. So Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they've sold to consumers. An increasing number of video games are sold effectively as goods, with no stated expiration date, but designed to be completely unplayable as soon as support from the publisher ends.
Yep.
This practice is a form of planned obsolescence and is not only detrimental to consumers, but makes preservation effectively impossible. Furthermore, the legality of this practice is largely untested in many countries. And so they basically have this petition that's currently reached about 1.3 million signatures.
Let me sign it. I'm not from the EU, but I want to sign it anyway.
And they want the EU to basically, make a stand against it because it's very likely that if the EU does it, it'll A, happen, and then B, the knockoff effect will still benefit U.S. consumers anyway. Mm-hmm. Because, these companies are... There's some video or something.
Yeah, I was trying to get back to the podcast stories, and I accidentally hit an ad.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I guess it's. What do you think? I mean, you as a mobile gamer, know all about I guess games ending service.
I've had so many games sunset in my life. For mobile games, I don't think it's so bad. Everyone kind of knows when it comes to mobile games that you don't have this. This isn't yours. You don't own it. This game, no matter how much money you spend in this game, it can just disappear tomorrow, and it is what it is. But I think it's worse for a lot of console games and games that don't make it apparent that this is not your product that you own. I think any game where you can buy a physical disc in a box from
that's what I was
GameStop or Walmart or something, if you can buy a physical thing, they shouldn't be able to take that from you. And I always bring this up whenever this conversation comes up, but Battleborn, it got killed off because Overwatch was that much more popular. But I still have my physical Battleborn disc in the box that I bought the game in. I put plenty of hours in, loved the game. Then they terminated service. And even though I have the disc, it'll just say connecting, no, nothing detected.
And it basically makes your disc into a paperweight.
Yeah.
I think that's the real, you just hit on the real thing, which I guess is what they're talking about, obviously, is when you buy a physical product that is being sold to you as this is a game in a case, you can put it in your console and play it. And then when that service gets terminated, it's just, there's nothing you can do with this disc anymore.
Just useless.
I think that what they're basically pushing for then, it sounds like, is even if service ends, you should be able to get on the game and do something.
But see, I think publishers actually prefer this situation because planned obsolescence means that you will always be looking for a new game to play because they're turning off your old ones.
Ooh, sounds so dark.
So they can keep their market going. It's an issue Nintendo has had with the Pokemon series, where your Pokemon cartridge is, the whole game is stored right in there. You don't have to use any online features if you don't want to, and you can play your favorite Pokemon game as much as you want until that cartridge literally stops working. And at that point, you got your money's worth out of it. But they don't want you reliving old copies of Pokemon games. They want you to buy the new copy of it on the Switch 2 or whatever is going to come after the Switch 2. They don't want us enjoying older games because then we won't be as quick to buy the newer stuff.
I actually think that Nintendo is probably an example of a company that generally does a better job of it than maybe say your EA or your perhaps like your Ubisoft, like those sorts of companies.
That's not much of competition.
But yeah,
Ubisoft are trash.
Yeah, they're not always the best in all
not
cases.
to offend anyone who might be listening that work for EA or Ubisoft. I think your corporations are trash. I don't think you and the people who work for them are trash.
I mean, these are companies that do make some very good single player games. I still will like stand behind things like Assassin's Creed.
All of them?
I think they're all pretty good, right?
So
I haven't played them all.
Okay. So all right. Well, so when was the last one you played then?
Maybe this isn't the best example. The point is the Assassin's Creed games, though, they don't go like offline. Like you can still like boot up Assassin's Creed 2 on your Xbox 360. I think that's the last one I played, and and play it. No, but you can. Like whereas like there's this one game, that racing game. What is it called? Is it called like The Crew?
The Crew. Where
like it just went offline and people were furious.
It did go offline,
and like you couldn't, because like the goal of the game was like it's an online open world or whatever, and you just drive around or something like that, and like, you can just seamlessly get into races with other people online, and like once that turned off, it's like you just can't do anything. Like sorry, tough luck. No, there is no game to be played here. So
that's true. The Crew is in a weird space because The Crew did last for quite a while.
Yeah, I remember.
They pulled the plug.
I think The Crew, if I'm remembering my dates, came out in like 2013, 14. It was like about 10 years old or something.
Are we talking about The Crew or The Crew 2?
I think The Crew 2.
Okay.
Either way, it had been around for a long time, but it didn't change the fact that like it was sold as a physical disc at your local Walmart, Target, GameStop, and now it cannot do anything. Despite the fact that you still own this disc, it's just a physical thing that you can't do anything with.
I do doubt that anyone who on their very first purchase of The Crew were thinking about how, this game will go offline one day, and so I better like get all my fun of it right now.
Yeah, I think that as a consumer, you have to like wonder where your head is at. Like they kind of want you thinking that The Crew is something that you will be playing. That's just one example of a game that you'll be playing like for the next few years.
Ever.
And then their plan would be that, well, you won't have to worry about it because The Crew 2 will come out and The Crew 3 will come out or whatever the next sort of thing. Like, it's like you were saying with the planned obsolescence part. Ideally, this company would like you to play this game ad nauseum and then move on to the next thing so that you don't feel the effect of the game itself having its servers turned off. Because you're not meant to think about it.
And I think at that point, these corporations have lost the plot of gaming.
And there goes our main camera.
All right, we're locked in with the
face cams.
But I think they've lost the plot when it comes to gaming. I think the goal of a good game is that you play it and you love it, and so you play it again. Why? Because you love it so much. Any game that you only play once and that you never want to turn back on again, can you really call that a good game?
I think it also comes down to the last point, at least that I have to make on this, is it's a single versus multiplayer thing too.
True.
I think with single player games, these are usually not going to be games that suffer from this. It's a game where you can like play a campaign that's 10 hours, 15 hours, whatever. It makes an impact on you and then you can go back and replay it. You can't really like replay Marvel Rivals.
What you mean?
You know what I mean? Like you can queue into another game.
I could play against the computer and the AI.
Yeah, okay. Fun, moving story. But,
okay, there is no, they have comic book stories.
So I think like if you, in the move to making more games be like these shared multiplayer experiences and these persistent worlds, it means that they will have to turn off. And but it's why I tend to prefer single player stuff, I think.
I think that the word experience is important there. And it's a distinction that needs to be made that when someone puts in their time or money into these multiplayer games, it does need to be understood front to back, top to bottom, that this is a multiplayer experience. You are supposed to experience it with a large group of people, and it will end one day. And
I think that they
when
should be
it
more
ends,
clear
you're
about
supposed
that.
to just treasure the times that you had with the game. But at the same time, I also mean that to me that means there should not be a way for you to spend $99 on.
See,
like
that's
a
what I was gonna say. It's like,
microtransaction.
so you spend like $100,000 on V-Bucks and stuff, and it shows no.
So at that point, I say you gotta drop that price low for me to be cool with that. But
Well, if you like the sound of your games and anything, you'll also love the idea that Microsoft is laying off as many as 9,000 employees, primarily from the Xbox division.
they said we were getting more Xbox. They lied clearly.
Microsoft confirmed that it's laying off as many as 9,100 employees, or about 4% of its total workforce, in yet another round of cuts this year, reports the Seattle Times. Employees in Microsoft's Xbox division, known as Microsoft Gaming, are being hit hardest by these layoffs, although exact numbers and divisions are not yet known. So yeah, a lot of people losing their jobs, but it's okay. Xbox leader Phil Spencer said in a message to the team, here's what he had to say to them.
What Spencer said.
To position Microsoft Gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas, we will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. So that's why you're getting laid off.
Okay, yeah, because typically when you're investing more into a segment or product, you fire a bunch of people in that segment or product. Y'all, I don't want to be a doomer about Xbox, but it doesn't sound good.
I have not great thoughts on kind of where I think the future of Xbox is going.
Like the hardware.
Yeah, Xbox hardware. I mean, there's obviously been a big push towards Game Pass, and I think that they want Game Pass to really just be the Microsoft gaming service. But I think that so much of Xbox has just lost its identity. Like, you know, I've got a laundry list of complaints about like the Xbox brand, but just to keep it brief, I think that they have gone a little bit too far into the just Microsoft gaming being the service, and as a result, it seems like many of their consoles have struggled with like just keeping the identity that it felt like they had in the Xbox 360 days.
It does sound like they're throwing in the towel and just saying, we lost the console war. I know it wasn't a real war, and I highly doubt the higher-ups at Microsoft even thought about the console war. But to us regular, like, peasantry folk, it just seems like they're throwing in the towel. They're like,
I think they are.
We lost. We're not doing this no more.
Well, I think that they're not even just throwing the towel in, though. They're kind of trying to make it a strategic pivot where the PS5 is more than double outsold like the Xbox Series X. That's not a console war take. That's just the reality of the sales figures. The thing is, though, Microsoft Game Pass is available on like everything now. They want you to simply have Game Pass. I mean, there are games
I'm actually
published
trying to
by,
cancel a Game Pass now, but I'm having trouble doing it.
They want you to have Game Pass like on your Switch or your Xbox or on your PlayStation.
I found out last month that I have it on my headset that I haven't turned on in 3 months.
Oh, your Meta or
Quest
your Quest or whatever. Yeah, like they want you to just play like Xbox games on your fucking smart fridge if you could. You know what I mean? Like connect your controller to your iPad and play it on.
I'm really trying to play a new Sonic racing game on my mom's smart fridge, but the screen, I just don't know how to make it work.
So these major layoffs come less than 2 months after Microsoft announced that it was cutting more than 6,000 employees, followed by an additional 305 reductions in early June. So they've been kind of just chopping people up. They laid off 1,900 Activision Blizzard and Xbox employees in January 2024.
They all getting replaced with AI.
1,000 job losses from its HoloLens and Azure cloud teams in June. They laid off 650 more Xbox employees last September. So, yeah.
I think this is, as the kids say, Xbox is cooked.
Now, they say that HR is working with the impacted employees to provide severance plans and healthcare coverage,
That
job
tells
placement
me that
resources.
money wasn't an issue. If you're going to give severance packages to all the people you cut, I don't think it was a money thing. It sounds like you just don't think those people are useful anymore.
I mean, I also think it's a long-term money thing.
Well, yeah, it's a long-term money thing. But I think essentially they have an idea that all those people's jobs can be done cheaper, and it has the letters A and I in them.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned AI because that leads us perfectly into our next story.
Segue.
It's closely related. AI can provide, quote, emotional clarity and confidence, Xbox executive producer tells staff after Microsoft lays off 9,000 employees.
My God.
So, an Xbox executive suggested that laid-off employees can use AI for emotional support and career guidance.
We do know there are people out there dating their AI, so I guess it can be emotional support.
Yeah, amid the largest round of layoffs in over 2 years, Matt Turnbull, the executive producer at Xbox Game Studios Publishing, suggested that AI chatbots could help those affected process their grief, craft resumes, and rebuild their confidence. The gesture was meant for support, but it left many game developers feeling outraged.
That didn't sound supportive in the slightest.
I'm sorry. That sounds so out of touch. Like, we're laying you off. You're about to not have a job, and it shows that we don't value you, and we're not even going to bother to, like, say anything nice. You can go and use ChatGPT for that.
Yeah, don't just talk to a chat bot if you feel bad about it, I guess. You're trying to bounce back? Get some AI. I don't know. Like, why are you looking at me? Like, I'm only your former employer. Emphasis on former.
Yeah, so Turnbull urged colleagues to lean on AI to reduce the, quote, emotional and cognitive load of job loss in his post, along with prompt ideas for 30-day recovery plans and LinkedIn messages. Probably the most eyebrow-raising suggestion was suggesting a prompt to help reframe imposter syndrome after being laid off.
Is this like a new form of gaslighting?
It feels like it. Here's a quote. "No AI tool is a replacement for your voice or lived experience," he wrote. "But in times when mental energy is scarce, these tools can help you get unstuck faster, calmer, and with more clarity." So,
was this written by AI? Maybe
it almost sounds like it was.
Is this AI self-promotion? Is Turnbull a real person?
So I'm not gonna lie. You know me. Like, if you listen to this podcast, you know how I am. I try to give the most charitable interpretations I can of even the most, nastiest of villains.
That was heinous.
The most diabolical villains. There's no way I can really read this without it just coming across as very condescending. Like,
it's like, feel bad about it? I guess I'm AI. I don't know. Shit. Like, it's like maybe they would appreciate having their jobs back. No. You're fired. They're more than fired. But if they feel bad about it, I guess they can talk to their AI girlfriends about it.
It just seems tone deaf. Now, apparently he took this post down because there was so much backlash to it. But everybody knows the sentiment there. Here's the nicest thing that I can say about it. And this...
Paul's still trying to find nice things to say about it.
Well, I'm stretching this because I have realized recently that there are people who have now started to use ChatGPT as a surrogate therapist.
They are.
Because... and it sounds bad, and I know, like, I don't think I would want to use ChatGPT for therapy, but I will give it this. Real therapy is expensive. And I guess if you feel that ChatGPT is hearing you, and, like, listening and providing support, and it's at least something that is helping your mental state, then that is free, as opposed to therapy, which is expensive.
I mean, it is free, but shout out to all the counselors and therapists out there. I don't think AI can replace you. And I think you should be on the lookout for all these former Xbox employees that need emotional support, because they're about to turn to free to play therapy.
I think that's my thing, is like, I get why somebody might, like, I understand the argument of using ChatGPT for therapy if you cannot afford therapy. If you feel that it's helping you, that's good. I think that your employer who is laying you off telling you that you're going to need it is vile.
I think that's how the kids say nasty work.
Yeah, that's right. I just think that's vile. I'm sure that some of these employees might have naturally gone to ChatGPT because of the fucking mental anguish.
Paul said they're so lonely, they're already on it. Don't join with Turnbull and just keep dunking on them. Don't do them like that.
But yeah, I just think that you should never be saying that as the employer. I mean, it just sounds so dismissive.
As the firer, that's correct.
Yeah, like, I guess you're not the employer anymore.
Like, if someone else fired said, "Hey man, I'm having a hard time with this, but if you are too, maybe try ChatGPT. I've been talking to it. I feel better." That's one thing. But for the person who cut you off to begin with to be saying that, nah, that's evil.
Yeah. So I guess, what's our next story? You got something fun for us.
Let's see. What do I have? Oh, I do have this one. It's kind of fun if it opens. Japanese airlines forced to cancel flights after manga author predicts disaster.
What?
Yeah, so there's a manga called The Future I Saw. And it's had a number of frighteningly accurate predictions about disasters in the world since its original publishing in 1999.
That's creepy.
Mangaka Ryo Tatsuki calls the manga her dream journal, with prophecies coming to her while she's asleep. She's recorded those dreams and put them into the form of a manga to create a story with them. And while this wouldn't be noteworthy on its own, she's predicted a number of things in the past, like Freddie Mercury's death,
Whoa.
Japan's 2011 earthquakes, and a variety of other things. Out of superstition, many chose not to travel on that day. I guess this is the day she said there
being
will be a
July 5th, 2025.
Yes, July 5th, 2025, resulting in airlines having to cancel flights. It's at the point where travel agencies have had to issue warnings debunking the superstitions, claiming they're not to be believed and that travel is completely safe.
That is kind of interesting, though. Like, so I guess she's made a manga. Mm-hmm. It's been running for a while, and she predicts natural disasters and other tragedies, and at least some of them have come true.
Yes, and I guess enough of them have come true to the point where people are just like, you know, maybe I stay inside today. Maybe that trip could wait another month. Like,
so, question.
Yeah.
Would you have gone on the flight? July.
So I'm not a superstitious
July
person.
5th.
I'm not a superstitious person. I would not have gotten on that flight.
I wouldn't have gone on that flight.
Sorry,
I don't think I would be on there.
Like,
I'd cancel my ticket.
Because the thing is, I cannot, unless I have to fly on that day, I will just choose not to. You know, it's because we're not too familiar with this manga. You know, in the West, we have The Simpsons, and they predict all sorts of nonsense. If The Simpsons have an episode where, like, there's a plane crash on a particular day, and, they have episodes where that happens, just not going to fly on those days. I don't need to be a part of a story where, once again, The Simpsons were right. I'd rather just not. If I have to die in a plane crash, let it be on a day no one predicted.
Yeah, I know that in Japan, superstition like that tends to, from my understanding, it's like also just it's more believed.
There's a bit more
I think people put more credence in that sort of thing. I do think
we have conspiracy theories over here.
Yeah, here we've got like kind of these wild conspiracy theories, but I do think like the idea of a manga that has successfully predicted them would be like kind of.
Though I'm genuinely curious what they mean by predicting Freddie Mercury's death, like. The cause of it, the date of it. It was like
a certain year, a certain day. I'm very curious about it.
Like describes how it happens, because at that point we might need to investigate, because this could be the plot of Death Note.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of manga, actually, this kind of relates to the last story that we have, which is Netflix says 50% of global users now watch anime. So at anime,
50%.
Yeah, at Anime Expo in Los Angeles over the weekend, an event that I wish I could have been able to go to, but I wasn't able to. Netflix revealed that its anime viewership has tripled over the past 5 years, while sharing new looks at Sakamoto Days, Cyberpunk Edgerunners 2, My Melody and Kurumi, and other anticipated titles. So yeah, Netflix doubled down on its global anime strategy over the weekend, unveiling a slate of new titles and fresh footage. They also shared updated viewership data highlighting just how far Japanese anime has come in expanding from its former niche into a powerhouse global content category. Mm-hmm. According to Netflix, more than 50% of its members, which amounts to over 150 million households or an estimated 300 million viewers, now watch anime. The company says that anime viewership on the platform has tripled over the past 5 years, with 2024 marking a record-breaking year. 33 anime titles appeared in Netflix's Global 10 non-English rankings, which was more than double the number in 2021. And they also revealed that anime content was viewed over 1 billion times in 2024, and that 80 to 90% of users opt to watch anime dubbed. So,
interesting. Watching anime dubbed. That's real like serial killer energy. I can't lie to you.
I think it's because
that's a little demented. Like that's like psychopathy. Like.
I think that a lot of that is also because, like, on Netflix, anime just defaults to being dubbed. Like, if a dub is available, it will always, I mean, if you're watching Netflix here in English,
right,
like, it will always default to.
And I'm joking. I actually don't care whether or not you watch your anime subbed or dubbed. In fact, I liked watching dubbed anime when I don't want to watch anime. I just want to listen to it. So it'll be in English, so I don't have to pay attention.
Yeah, I'm pretty indifferent to the subbed versus dubbed thing. I used to not even know that much about it because I still consider myself a fairly green anime watcher. Like, I know that sub versus dub was always a big war thing, but I actually just kind of watched whatever was like fucking available, which typically meant that I was just watching dubs. But nowadays, the reason I watch subs is just because like I want to watch it as soon as possible. And so like, because like for me, I used to watch My Hero Academia dubbed. And I liked when Crunchyroll would do like the simul dub thing where like same day and date and stuff, they'd have the dubs available. I know they say that's hell on the production side for like the actors and all that. But for me, the paying consumer, I enjoy it. Well, anyway,
that was my Crunchyroll subscription.
Oh yeah, well I had Funimation. I had the Funimation subscription. You had the Crunchyroll subscription, and My Hero used to be a Funimation thing.
All right.
Anyway, the point is, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. I stopped watching or waiting for the dubs when they started coming out like 2 weeks later, because they would only like do the simul dub for like half the season, and then after that they would like, it'd be like 2 weeks after. And so then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like watch sub because I just want to see each new episode as it comes out. So
would you say you hate dubs?
Yeah, that's right. I hate dubs.
That's what I got out of all.
Anybody who
like,
watches dubs is trash.
Like, that's what it is.
This is the internet. We got black or white opinions only. Black or white opinions only. Yeah, so I thought that was just kind of an interesting statistic. It just kind of shows that anime has grown.
I mean, to some degree, I feel like there's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy here. If Netflix continues to license some of the hottest anime coming out of Japan, where the only way to watch them legally is on Netflix, then there will be people that sign up for the platforms just to watch said anime. And I think that can kind of inflate their numbers if, on a given anime season, 100,000 people all sign up just to watch that anime. I mean, that's going to push the numbers in a certain direction. For them,
it's that like meme of, like Barack Obama giving the medal to Barack Obama. Have you seen that meme? Yeah. It's kind of like, guys, we have been licensing a lot more anime, so it's caused a lot more people to watch, so we'll be continuing to license more anime. It's not a bad thing.
Because it's not a matter of like Netflix's already established anime content is becoming more popular. They just keep licensing more popular anime, and so
which to be clear,
show up.
Thumbs up from me. I mean, I think like if more anime can come over to the West, that's generally a good thing. It does sometimes suck though that there's like sort of a Netflix jail where I think certain anime don't get attention that they deserve because they're on a more obscure platform. Sometimes that's Netflix. Sometimes that's like High Dive. Sometimes it's like stuff that's like
Netflix,
on HBO and Disney.
Amazon Prime, HBO Max.
What was the one that we watched last year? Sandland?
Sandland
was really good.
That was on Hulu and Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I feel like not that many people saw it as a result.
Agreed.
Because I think when you think of anime, you think like basically Crunchyroll these days.
That's the face of anime.
And maybe you think of Netflix and stuff here and there, but like the more niche things, the average person will not be exposed to them. So,
and no one ever talks about the anime on Crackle.
Crackle has anime? I didn't know.
I have no. I know they do.
Oh, you made that shit up?
Anymore. No, I'm only half making it up because I haven't gone back to Crackle in years. But when I was there were a bunch of like old niche anime on there.
Well, anywho, that concludes our story. So now we're going to get into some viewer questions. We've heard you guys' demands, and we will be bringing back pulling questions out of the pot with cards, but not this week because we had to kind of record this one a little bit earlier than expected. But we do have some very good viewer questions, and if you guys ever want to submit viewer questions, you can always do so at the link down below.
Let's click down there. Hey, try not to write an entire novel as the question, but if you do, Paul will read the whole thing anyway, so I don't have a problem with it. It's just more work for him.
Somebody got mad at you about that comment last week. They were like, make Alec like write all of the questions or something like that.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, though, we do appreciate your questions. If you reach this point in the pod, by the way, make sure that you leave a like. I'm just going to try to do more reminders of that.
The problem is I feel like a lot of people, once they've reached this part in the pod, they're doing something and their hands are busy. So they might not even have a chance to like it before the autoplay kicks in and kicks them to a new video. Hopefully another one of our videos if it does kick you over.
Well, okay. We got a couple good questions here.
I'm going to mime as if we're drawing it out of the pot.
Yeah, you're drawing too. Hey, Paul and Alec, why do you think that Konami doesn't release OCG products to the TCG areas? For fun, give a reasonable theory and then maybe a crazy conspiracy for your answer. This is from Mass Gamer 4.
Oh, that's a fun little twist on a question. Okay.
All right, the reasonable answer why they don't do it is because I actually, you know what's sad? My reasonable answer and my like conspiracy answer are actually about the same. Which is that I actually like have this hunch that Konami Japan just does not really have any respect for like the Western playing audience. I think that I don't think they like hate us or whatever, but I just think that they genuinely do not see the West as like a market that would be, I guess, interested in the variant products, the higher quality products, the more fan servicey products. I think that they just think that maybe we're like whales who will buy good meta decks. And like, you know, we will tear open boxes to get new card for a good meta deck, and we deserve nothing more or less because like we have shown that in their view, that's all we're worth.
In summary, you're kind of saying that they don't think we would appreciate the nuances between the more niche products. That we would not be, that it would not make a huge difference in our spending if they release some new like deck boxes
like
and stuff.
Yeah, those deck box things, the tactical tri decks,
the valuable books,
the white collection with like the Albaz story. These neat products that are exclusive to the OCG, and then obviously there's Rush Duel, but that's I think a different conversation.
That's a whole other combo.
Yeah, but I think that's what it is. I think that they just don't actually really respect the West. Like I think that they're just like, here these pigs will just pay for good cards, and that's like why we
pigs,
don't do it.
Oink, oink.
What about you though? What do you think?
I think my reasonable take is it's a consequence of kind of multinational business. I think products are made and packaged in Japan for the Japanese, and so they fling that same card stock over to the West, to like Konami, like NA, and they're like, okay, now package the same product, but for what you think works for the North American audience. And Konami NA did that years ago, and I think they're kind of scared to actually ever make changes to that. I think, at least in the West, there's so much money that flies into Konami's pocket because of Yu-Gi-Oh! That adding new things, changing things, it's too risky for them, and so I just think they just don't bother doing it. Now, my less reasonable
what's the conspiracy?
Is that I think after the whole Upper Deck situation where Westerners ripped off the Yu-Gi-Oh! Brand, we are actually being punished by Konami Japan.
That could so be true.
That now there's a little bit of resentment for Westerners within their space. Yeah, they'll take our money, but they're not going to give us the good stuff. They're going to hold back.
Yeah, there could be some connection there.
The better rarities, the better pull rates, the accessories, the lore. That's going to hold all that back, punishing us for being capitalistic pigs.
You know, I will say one last little thing on that too is I think that the OCG and the TCG started at least splitting up ban lists like shortly after that Upper Deck thing. So like maybe there's something there.
Tinfoil hats on, boys.
If I'm remembering my timelines correctly, I'm sure there's somebody who knows. But anyway, the next question is like two separate questions, and if they feel conjoined, I think it's a good thing to end this off
twins.
on. So the first one is, hi all, this is she, her, if you need a pronoun. Okay. I have a question. Do you think there's a divide between new and old Yu-Gi-Oh players? As a relatively new player, I find myself not agreeing or understanding the perspective of older players liking older Yu-Gi-Oh art, wanting the game to be slower, etc. I find myself disagreeing 9 out of 10 times with these points. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. So was this both questions?
That's like the first question that's related. She asked that. And then somebody else made this slightly longer question, but it feels like these will probably get into the same conversation points. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a long one, though. Does the Yu-Gi-Oh! Player base even want the game to get any more popular than it already is? I'm in the Zodiac Facebook group, which I heard, by the way, that group went down a couple weeks ago as part of like a bunch of Facebook groups were like taken down. They got brought back up. Anyway, and they were talking about one of Paul's posts on X. Oh, look at me being on Zodiac again. Regarding the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has no real point of interest to draw new people in. And while a sizable amount of people agreed and even echoed grievances about gameplay as well as the lack of a hook for new players, a couple people chalked up the post to Paul's, quote, hatred of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! This got me thinking whether or not the player base would care for new popularity in the game. Because anytime anyone brings up issues concerning anything about the game, specifically issues that bar new players from playing, a noticeable portion of people will call it a skill issue or just be reductive toward the overall scope of the problem or tell the people complaining to leave the game. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'll first respond to she, her, the first question. As an old fogey in this game, like, there is a very clear difference between older and younger Yu-Gi-Oh players. We've said it before on the pod. We truly think that Yu-Gi-Oh of today and Yu-Gi-Oh of then are just two separate games. Mm-hmm. And a lot of how the older Yu-Gi-Oh players feel Yu-Gi-Oh should be is simply not at all what current Yu-Gi-Oh is. And so for anybody that's gotten into the modern game, they will struggle to understand why this old man
Wait, what
is
was
yelling
so special about it?
Yeah, they'll struggle to fit. They won't understand why we're yelling at this cloud. It's like, this game used to be so much better when the monsters were ugly and the whole gameplay was slow. It sounds bad, but I know from like a newer perspective, that's what it seems like. But I can't really think of examples of many games that have lasted as long as Yu-Gi-Oh! And have done what Yu-Gi-Oh's done, essentially transitioning from one game to a wholly different experience.
Thing. You're so right about that.
Like a 20-year period.
A point that I would make about that too is, and we mentioned this in the podcast before, this truly is a good question because I think this investigates something that this is a perspective that does not often get heard. Everybody complains like modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too fast, it's too crazy, but what about the people that like that? What about the people that they're finding a lot of joy in?
Well, they don't get representation on this channel.
Yeah, and the card designs or the gameplay style. I think for me, it kind of reminds me of something that we said where the thing that you like best about your favorite band, movie, whatever, is you liked it best when you got into it. That's actually the general truth to most nostalgic things. This series was best at the time, shortly after I learned about it and was enjoying it most. And now it's gone by the wayside. My favorite band doesn't make the same music anymore. My favorite video games they don't have the same charm or the same whatever. So it's kind of just more of a natural bias, I think, that people find where if you started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In let's say 2022, right?
Six?
Maybe. The game was fast then, and you just don't what would have been the charm of setting cards and all that stuff.
It is also nostalgia at play here. Essentially, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been a hellish game to lose at, but we remember our days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Being hellish to lose at more fondly because we were young and having fun. Now we're old and more bitter, and so we take the losses worse, and in our minds it feels worse than it used to, but the thing is, if you ever go back to play GOAT format or even Edison format, how bad it feels to fall behind your opponent and that you kind of can't catch up.
Yeah, you have to kind of crawl your way back, and it's not really always possible. That's the thing. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been an obnoxious game in many different periods of time. FTKs have always existed. Field nukes have existed. There have been floodgates.
We've had hand loop formats.
Yeah, there have been hand loops. It's not something that's exclusive to new Yu-Gi-Oh! But I think that it's true that basically the original thing you said is largely the case, which is that it's just two separate games. I think that the biggest trouble that Yu-Gi-Oh! The brand itself actually has right now, the TCG thing, is that the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG as it is played today is not the same game that it was 20 years ago.
We should put a new name on it. It should be Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, actually to a drastic degree, it creates a dissonance that is so hard to put into words because there are people who are old, fogies who they can't see any value in the new game, in the modern game. And then if you're a modern player, you just can't understand what was the appeal of the old thing. Your monsters are going to the spell a trap zones, you're linking or whatever, and your graveyard's bigger than your deck. I don't understand it. But I guess suffice it to say, it is a good point. I think that there is just a divide in the people themselves. It's a good segue, I think, into that second question, which was about how, it almost feels like there are some people who maybe don't want Yu-Gi-Oh. This person puts in their question, they almost say like they don't want Yu-Gi-Oh to get new people.
It's not. I don't think it's that people don't that Yu-Gi-Oh players don't want new people into the game. I think we specifically want new people in our versions of Yu-Gi-Oh, how we specifically enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh. So, for instance, if let's say Doom of what's the next set? Doom of Dimensions gets really, really popular, right? It gets so popular. There's a whole bunch of new faces in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I would feel a bit put off by that because I'm like, wow, Yu-Gi-Oh is now it's more popular than ever, and like, but none of them know what it was like playing against Thousand Eyes Restrict. Like, they don't know about Graceful Charity or this Pot of Greed joke is not landing anymore. Like,
yeah, there's,
like, but I think the flip is, when Edison ever pops off to become even larger, I think then the opposite happens for this other crowd of Yu-Gi-Oh players, where it's like all these useless Yu-Gi-Oh players just entered the space. They don't play the modern game. They don't know how to use a hand trap, and they keep showing up to my locals with their old cards. I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, and that happens at locals. All right, I'm going to rapid fire a bunch of different opinions about this, and just, because we're on a bit of a time clock here. So, first of all, I think that it is true. It does seem like there are people who are they bring a lot of heat to the sort of person who comes around complaining about old school Yu-Gi-Oh or wanting the game to slow down or whatever. Usually when I make posts saying like we need better onboarding products or like, the game is inaccessible, I think that the reason I met with some opposition is because I think people have taken a lot of pride in maybe getting good at what modern Yu-Gi-Oh is, or they're used to it, and so it feels like I'm maybe attacking them. It's like I'm saying that there's some flaw in the core game of Yu-Gi-Oh that they enjoy, because we know how it is on the internet now. Like, people they put a lot of their identity into being good at a certain thing or kind of liking a certain thing. Like, I am a modern Yu-Gi-Oh player and I like my combo decks and I like this and that. And so if you say that there's any flaw with that, you are attacking me, the person. And I think that it seems to me, in my obviously biased point of view, that more people being able to play Yu-Gi-Oh and it being accessible should only be objectively a good thing.
Right.
But I do think that, like, some people, I think when I'm phrasing it or I'm framing it as like it is difficult to get into, people see that as like an attack on themselves. And I don't know what to say to those people other than
get good.
Well, that's what see, that's the thing. That's what they would say to me. That's actually a common misconception I think a lot of people have. I remember when I made like my mid-core Yu-Gi-Oh thing, and a lot of people were talking about that and reacting to it and stuff. And one of the things I saw on like some streamer's chat or something was like they were reacting to the Paul saying like mid-core Yu-Gi-Oh thing, right? And one of the things that they said was like, oh, so like Paul just wants like everybody to be as bad at the game as he is, or something to that effect. Like I guess they read it as like, I am this scrub who cannot get with the times and get with the program, and I suck at modern Yu-Gi-Oh, and so because I'm so bad at it, I just want the game to slow down for little old me, right?
Right.
And to that, I think the best thing I can say is this. If that is true, and I'm terrible at playing Yu-Gi-Oh and all these things, what would it really change about the points that I'm making, though? Because it still doesn't actually change the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh has an onboarding problem. Like, I don't really think that I have to be like good or bad at Yu-Gi-Oh to make just an observation. Card shops are struggling to sell products. There aren't as many starter and structure decks. And it's tough to introduce the game to new people because it's games like One Piece or Magic are just far more appealing for other reasons, Pokemon and stuff like that. As for maybe a slightly more arrogant answer I could give, I am probably better at Yu-Gi-Oh than most people think that I am, but I see
Paul's better at Yu-Gi-Oh than you.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
You got 2 trophies back there somewhere.
But I think like people have a tough time separating.
So he ain't gonna now it's 2 trophies, but he do have them.
I have some, like, I've done pretty well in Yu-Gi-Oh sometimes. My thing though is like, I think people need to focus on separating. Like, a person can be good at Yu-Gi-Oh or bad at Yu-Gi-Oh and still have opinions about the experiences of people who are not as good at it as I am. Like, so I can go and like, I've topped some regionals and gotten some Nat invites and all that stuff. And like, I play modern Yu-Gi-Oh. I still play Master Duel and all this stuff. I still build decks doesn't change my opinion that the game needs help in the onboarding department. That's the thing. Like, I saw somebody left a comment the other day where they were like, I don't know why you're complaining so much. Like, versus, like, Vanquish Soul just got new support and they're about to be a top tier deck. That is great. I will be getting the new support. I'll be playing it. That is not related to my argument that Yu-Gi-Oh! Still has an onboarding problem. Like, I think for some people, it stops at like, oh, well, like, I'm happy with something right now. So what could be the problem?
Well, I mean, that's Konami's formula, right? Print some new like support. So shut up. Just
exactly.
Give them what they need.
It satiates people because like, oh, my favorite archetype got new support, or like, sure, modern Yu-Gi-Oh's like burning to the ground, but as long as if my Madolches get some new support, I guess I can be satiated for a while. To me, that's the trap. Like, the trap is kind of keeping you on the hook and keeping you happy with these things, but like whether I top a YCS or become a world champion, or if I'm like average Joe who sucks, the opinion is still valid because like it's just something that players are experiencing and shops are experiencing. So I do see where like I think these people they meet that premise with trepidation because it sounds like their way of life is being challenged. But what I would say is, what's so bad about more people playing your game?
And I think that about sums up our answer. I don't know if we got there, but boy did we say things.
Yeah, hopefully that, provided some clarity or insight. We really do appreciate the questions. We got to go because we're actually about to go and catch the early showing of Superman.
Oh, that's right. I forgot what the movie was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're doing this thing where Amazon Prime where like you can get like a...
Wasn't that for like...
ticket for... Yeah, it's not... I mean, there's like ads, or trailers.
Yeah, we're just... Okay,
so we'll have to hurry. Okay, cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Have a wonderful week. Thank you again, as always, for your support.
That's right.
Really do appreciate it. We will try to get a bonus episode out probably next week for you guys.
Yep.
But we still do appreciate all the paying channel members.
So, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Pass turn.